Dr. Andy Lee, very successful doctor, makes a lot of money in Australia. And I never forget this. We're sitting in Brisbane, and it's on a Wednesday. And we're talking about branding, and like he is deep top of his field, makes a tremendous amount as a doctor. And he comes up to me, he goes, I'm gonna do this. And then we had an event next week. We had like the free event, the next 2 days event. He immediately cancels a bunch of surgery, which no one would have done, right? And it's hard to schedule in times and stuff like that. He goes, because I need this as well. And so coachable, very successful as well. Also is like a doctor that also has like empathy, that knows how to talk to people. And during these last 3 days, I'd always like refer to him, because he knows how to rationalize it, not only from the patient, but the doctor, very good at what he does. And he's literally trying to change a segment of the healthcare that has become a very big problem, that nobody else is doing it. And he decided to basically, change it and take it by the bull. So please welcome Dr. Andy Lee. How are you, Doc?
I'm very good, thank you.
See? So well spoken. You see what I mean with the last, where my
Yes.
friend, yeah, you see
Yes.
the completely opposite. I bet you got off on stage and he stared at you and you smiled.
Yes.
You kind of even look a bit like. So Doc, you are a sort of a right brainer and a left brainer position. Your greatest skill is people, but you are very good at what you do as well. Tell us the biggest fundamental problem in healthcare right now, and why did you decide that you are going to solve it? Because you could literally stay in the current practice you are, make a lot of money, you have more patients than you can handle, you are busy. You could literally told me you could work 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, and I could not see every patient because I'm such in demand.
Yeah, there's a story behind that. I mean, I have ADHD. Had problems with ADHD. It affected me in my adult life, and I had a lot of the bad traits. And one day, it was about 10 years ago, I decided, you know what, I need to do something about this. And I said, look, you're a doctor, figure it out. So I came up with this, I devised a formula. It was basically just to help myself. It was what we call it's a mind mapping formula. And there's lots of mind mapping formulas out there for mental health, for business. But this is one for me. I devised it just for me. And it basically, it was a very simple formula to help me get through my own problems. And it worked for me. But I didn't think to share it or use it with anybody else over the years. And except over the last few years, having moved to Australia 6 years ago, I was seeing a lot of mental health patients, because mental health is, as we know, is a growing problem. And I thought, you know what, I saw some patients that resonated with my issues, and I started to share this formula with them. And I found that it was working for them. So I tried it even more. And then more and more people found it was helpful. So I shared it even more, and I found that pretty much everyone that I shared it with, who I thought was appropriate, got improved themselves. And so it helps people who don't necessarily have to have ADHD like I do, but if they have anxiety, if they have any depression, or even any kind of trauma, it was really helping them.
What is, because there's two things, right? So sometimes, like, I'm a high performer, and, I was bullied and all these things. And when people start creating these issues, I just, like, toughen up, right? But clearly, I think a lot of the problems, a lot of the shootings in America are derivative from people with mental health problems, which one might say is, the kids are being bullied at school, let's say, or outsiders. The teachers are not identifying them. Sure. And the teachers are probably the one they would know which kid are being picked in to be able to solve it. And from what I understand, teachers are not addressing in the class about why people should not be bullied. So people are not talking about it. The parents of the bully are not saying anything to their kid. They shouldn't do that as well, because maybe their parents are bullied. Then the parents are not admitting that their kid has mental health issues, because that would be a deficiency on them. And so, like, is it something that is born with, or do you think it's something that society, the pressures the way it is, develops all of these things that make people who they are? And is your solution really a solution, or is it just someone has to say and do something?
Yeah, I think it's like with all things, it's a variety of factors which are involved. You know, I think the shorter answer, just to explain it, would be children kind of are the products, obviously, of their parents, and that includes their sort of behavioural traits. So what they're exposed to, who their role models are, which is essentially their parents, relatives or friends and neighbours, that's who they become, because they basically witness and observe how people function. So if they observe good behaviours, then they tend to become good people. If they observe bad behaviour, then they tend to follow bad behaviour. So
Is it the parents' fault?
I wouldn't
In some cases, right? I mean,
in some cases, I wouldn't say fault, because if you think deeper into it, you've got to ask yourself, why is the parent perhaps not performing as well as they should be?
is it because their parents didn't do that?
Well, yeah, possibly.
So it's a generational thing.
Well, or they were exposed to trauma in their life or some adversity, which then caused them.
So why am I successful? No, I'm just trying to say, like, I suffered.
Sure.
You know, my parents, they never said they're proud of me. You know, my parents had a lot of racist tendencies. So why am I, you know, we heard an earlier guest who's very successful as well and went to some kind of there. And people might say, well, it's because I had trauma. But if you take a look at the numbers, if there's 100 people who went to the same thing I did, how many of them succeeded and how many people just got sucked in?
Sure.
So am I the exception?
You are.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And why am I the exception?
I still haven't figured that one out. But you know,
Why am I paying you?
You're a beast, JT.
I don't know, maybe because I just didn't want to be them. Like I've never smoked, I've never done drugs, right? I've never had a drink. Not because I give if anybody does it. That doesn't. I just saw what it did to them, and so I just did the opposite. And then I saw my sister who did exactly what the parents did, and I know where they are now too, as well. But maybe I'm not empathetic to other people go through, and maybe I should. And I am starting to be more conscious of as well. And that's why I wanted to bring here, because, listen, the same mass murders keep happening. And it's some guy with a machine gun and who basically shoots everybody up, right? Or just anywhere, a knife or anywhere in the world. And the same problems keep happening. And everybody keeps saying, because of mental health, okay? So we obviously know what the problem is. To the whole world in this room, right? And I brought you to America to talk about this. And then to everybody who's going to see this someday, what's your solution and what needs to be done?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it'd be like, okay, if you know the problem, right, then and you don't give the solution, then it's just kick down the can, like our national debt.
Sure.
Over. So what is the solution you're
Yeah,
going to give?
well, one of the solutions, as part of the therapy that I mentioned, which I mentioned before, that helped me, this mind mapping formula which I've developed, it's about basically allowing an individual to basically cleanse their mind. So it's about clearing their mind. I mean, in this modern day and age, we are so distracted. You know, we are doing so many things in our lives these days. You know, we work long hours, but we have lots of distractions. You know, we ought to be buff, so we go to the gym. We need to spend time there. We need to eat healthily. Need to do exercise, and then we have modern technology, and that is supposed to help make our jobs easier. But I actually find with technology, it's actually quite the opposite. That we're actually probably making us work more hard because we're becoming more efficient, and I think that's a big problem. And then the distractions that you get with social media, with entertainment like Netflix and things like that, it's causing people to be in their brains just full, overwhelmed. And I think, we're not taught this at school. We just basically get on with life. But I think if we can somehow clear our minds by emptying our minds, and my form is very simple. I have to. It takes for me to explain this solution, an hour, but then the patient or the client goes home and then in their own time will complete the exercise. And it's about essentially emptying literally everything in your head. And I think when you empty everything in your head, and then it's then formulated and mapped and organized, pigeonholed, and prioritized, your life becomes a lot easier to manage. And then if your head is emptied, you then have capacity to then deal with life, and you're not as stressed. And if you're not stressed, then you're not going to do the things that will make you, when you get triggered by stress, you'll do some things that you might regret. Then but you don't have the stress because you've eliminated it, then you're less likely to perhaps procure violence and all these other issues.
Well, if there's anything I could do, Doc, to whether it's to lend my voice or my image or stuff like that to help other people on your mission, because at the end of the day, I don't think I can stand on the sideline and just blame mental illness if I have the ability to be part of the solution. I want to be a help you and make sure I do that. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you
I
very
think
much.
you're fantastic.
That's great. Thank you. Cheers.